Say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we have the approval of minutes, the corrections, additions, questions. Not on.
The only thing is, even something.
Well, we'll go on to that. We can talk about that with the agenda items. We can add that to the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the table or deny the minutes. Commissioner Materi makes a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Hall. Discussion on the minutes. Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Minutes approved. Now comes the approval of the agenda. Commissioner Materi made a comment that we discuss the private drive policy, especially for snow removal. I think it'd be a good discussion to have probably with Skylar's here, so probably sometime between 10 and 11 we can, because I know he had been working on something. I think Burley County and a few other counties kind of have some rules and regulations on some of that stuff, and I know he was looking into that. I was going to see if he came to a conclusion or if he was looking for something. So. And then another discussion, if you wanted to talk about the Emmons.
Yeah, just one.
The Emmons property. We can put that on the hold and finish the business there. We can discuss it. We do have some. Are there any other things to add to the agenda? Entertain a motion to approve or deny the amended agenda. Commissioner Everly makes a motion to approve the amended agenda. Is there a second to that motion?
Oh, sorry.
Second by Commissioner Materi. Is there any more discussion on the amended agenda? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Agenda approved. So the first item up for business after the approval of the agenda is the administration of the oath of office to Craig Miller. Joe's going to be reading that.
All right. Don't mind raising your right hand. Say it after me. I, Craig Miller of Linton, North Dakota.
Craig Miller of Linton, North Dakota.
Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of North Dakota.
and the Constitution of the State of North Dakota.
That I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of County Commissioner.
I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of North Dakota.
Of Emmons County Commissioner.
Of Emmons County Commission.
According to the best of my ability.
According to the best of my ability.
So help me God. All right. So,
That was kind of a tough one because if I remember right, I got to read my mouth when I was doing it.
sure.
Have I signed that or do you?
I got to notarize it, looks like.
Okay. All right, so on to old and unfinished business. Congratulations, Craig. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
First order of unfinished business will be the county committee member for replacing Corley Ogren. Anybody have a chance to find a replacement?
No, I talked to a couple people, but I still,
The search continues. Next item up on old and unfinished business would be the Evenson property. So I contacted Jared and he's on board with doing it. We just need to make sure that the judgment was in place, and I think Joe's got some information on the judgment.
Right, yeah, unfortunately, the judgment we got last year was in August, and so it expired. They're good for a year in this, so I have to file to renew it. I have the paperwork done, but we're waiting on some photographs. Sheriff's Department's gonna provide me some aerial photographs. I guess they have a way of doing that, so we're hoping that with the addition of the exhibits as the photographs, so be able to get a quicker renewal than what it was last time. That took a while to get the judgment. So if we have a little luck, then maybe we'll be able to clean it up in the next month. Otherwise, the longest it should take would be just under 60 days, probably closer to 45. We also did get another bid back from Aero Services. It was just under 20,000. It's like 19,600 if I remember. So quite a bit higher than the one that Commissioner Magrum received. So I think that's probably good news with, the decision you made to go forward with the other guy. So he's ready to clean it up, it sounds like, right away. So I just have to get a judge to sign off on renewing that judgment. Be able to get in there, so.
The reason the judgment takes a little bit of time is because you gotta allow Kevin a period of time to respond to it again.
Right.
I mean, that's the reason for the time, so, which is fine, at least Kevin knows that when we come to the again, but yeah, hopefully it's your future here, because Jared said he could get it's ready, so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened last time. Basically, we got the judgment right away, and one local company said that they were going to clean it up, but they weren't going to get to it until closer to freezing. And then we had sort of an early snow, and then all of a sudden a long winter. And then they didn't want to do it in the spring, so it became couldn't find anybody type of thing. So unfortunately, they're only good for a year, not like typical judgments. So
This is strictly next year.
What?
This is strictly next year.
Yeah, I don't think we have to wait to decide.
yeah, it's just the exterior.
Once you get this cleaned up, what's to keep you moving on again?
Nothing, because it's out the door, so. All we do is bring it into compliance for the current time, hope it stays there.
Yeah, he pays the costs, and he's done that in the past. And so I guess the theory behind it is you got to pay $10,000 to have your yard cleaned every few years. Maybe stop forcing the hand of the county, but let's see.
Yeah, it hasn't seemed to stop. Okay,
I'll grab my stamp.
next, the Housing Authority Board Member replacement of Diane Culver, and she recently had stepped down as well, so, wants to find a replacement on the Housing Authority Board for Diane Culver.
Opposite days.
Yeah, so, traditionally, we've tried to have one person from every district on a lot of these boards. Since Diane lives in your district, Craig, that generally falls on the responsibility of the commissioner in that district. If you can't find someone, we can find someone from everywhere, but we always try to keep it like the commission where there's a representative from each area, so. So if you could find someone that would be on the Housing Authority Board, and if you have any information, or if you have any questions about the Housing Authority, like Marcy would have, kind of their meeting schedule and things like that, their responsibilities, so. Want to find somebody to replace Diane on there, unless somebody else has someone in mind. I know it's pretty recent, so I don't think anybody probably knows anybody, but. Then I guess just report back to us when you find somebody, maybe hopefully by the next meeting, and sooner the better, so. Okay. This public hearing here, so I guess one thing I'll just take, just like a little point of personal privilege, I guess. I just found out this morning that Becky Matthews, who was the chairperson for the Burley County Commission, passed away, I think over the weekend or something like that. So she was battling with an illness, so I guess probably feels right just to acknowledge it here and to offer our condolences to the Burley County Commission and to the Matthews family. So kind of a tough thing, so they gotta go through the same thing we just did. They gotta appoint the commissioner out, so yeah, it seems like it's an unheard of process that happens 2 months in a row basically now, so anyway, that's kind of just a little bit of news I found out this morning in our committee center, so. One other thing that we can do just for a couple minutes, I guess, under the miscellaneous, the North Dakota Association of Counties tour is on September 13th at 2 o'clock in the courthouse here, which would be Wednesday. Well, Marcia, they just kind of tour a few courthouses like in the summer, right? Or just go around and create shows.
Go through their courthouse and then we'll meet in the auditorium and then go to the events that they have going on in trainings.
And that would be Wednesday the 13th at 2:00 here at courthouse for anybody that comes in. Sounds like it's usually the Association of Counties, like some of their board members, right? Usually in the.
And some of their staff.
Right, and then it's also the North Dakota County Commissioners Association too?
I think so, I think they'll bring like a president or something.
Right, they're doing both, so anyway, they're, kind of a little meet and greet courthouse tour or whatever here on Wednesday at next Wednesday at 2:00, so. Make sure to mark your calendars.
And I think I gave you guys also the 6 county meeting coming up, right?
Oh, yeah, that was another piece of information here, the, 6 county meeting, what the heck was that?
I think I just, did I email it to you?
No, I had you had a copy of the email here. Must be attached to it. Oh, here it is. Stuck in another piece of paper. 6 county meeting is slated for President on Tuesday, September 12th at 10 a.m. The meeting at the Main Street Cafe, Woodland 69 Main Avenue South. At the topics you'd like to discuss on the agenda, please forward them at your earliest convenience. Wells County Auditor. So yeah, President on September 12th at 10 a.m. So.
If you plan on going, can you please email me so that I can let them know?
President. They had it there, well, must have been about a year and a half ago or so. And it was in, I think, February, it was like 40 below when I drove up there, and about halfway there, I started rethinking my plan. I mean, it was a long drive when it was 40 below. And there's nothing between here and Pheasant, let me tell you, when you go to their back roads there, like once you get north of Steel and stuff, there's.
That's open country.
Yeah, that's the boonies up there, so, anyway. Close enough here, we can start the, public hearing to consider petition for order to discontinue, close, and vacate a section line in Emmons County, Township 130, Range 79, between sections 28 and 27, beginning at the point where the northeast corner of section 28 meets the northwest corner of section 27, and running south to a point where the northeast corner of the southeast quarter of section 28 meets the northwest corner of the southwest quarter on section 27, as provided by North Dakota Century Code 24-07-05 and 24-07-3. The same as corner and quarter in the same sentence. Okay. Looked over this briefly. I guess this is basically right down by the river. West of like Preston Newsom's place, right? It's kind of
2 miles off that,
sure. And Larry, are you the one bringing this forward, or you?
Greg Van Beek has brought the,
Okay.
I guess, started the petition or whatever.
Okay.
I just had a few questions on it, or a couple questions on it.
So when did this all come about that we're having a public hearing on this?
I guess maybe Joe would have some information, or who's gonna.
Yeah, they've been working on it for a while this summer, but they finally just got the signatures and handed in Marlis earlier this last month, I guess. My understanding is basically Larry's got an easement that would allow him to construct a road on Greg Van Beek's property on the east side of one of those sections, but it's contingent upon Van Beek's closing the section line off, so there's not 2 roads basically is what.
So I mean, why wasn't this brought before earlier to us?
It wasn't, I guess, ready to be brought before earlier.
Well, because the process basically states that you have to have the adjoining landowners
Right.
sign the petition initially, right?
Yeah, you would need, you need well, you can do it 2 different ways. You can get 6 signatures from residents in the vicinity, but if you have at least 70% of the adjoining landowners sign the petition, then you can dispense with the notice requirements you know. So, let's say that Mr. Umber didn't sign this petition, then there would have been more notice requirements. They would have had to have, you probably would have found out about it last month or so, but
Yeah.
in this case, the only landowners, that own property up against the portion of the section line to be closed are Mr. Umber and Van Beek, so 100% have signed it, I guess. They don't need to post notice or serve anybody else.
But Larry, isn't this the same piece of land that you come a couple of years ago and wanted access through there?
Correct, I've got the permit that's to build on that section line and the section line to the east of it.
So I mean, why do you want to close down?
That Greg's gonna give me an easement on the other side to go off the section line. On the east side, he's gonna allow me to go, he's signed an easement to go on his property, to go off to the section line.
Okay, but
But it's easier.
what if you sell that land down the road someday? How is that person supposed to get in there?
It's got what I don't know, where to Joe,
It runs with the land, so whoever buys it would have that easement right as well.
Does anybody use the road? Anybody else?
the road that he's trying to close, there is no road there.
There is no road, no.
There is, I was taking that way because I had no way to get to it. I can get there with a four-wheel tractor or pickup, but I mean, you're risking tipping them over basically. That's where I was gonna build, that's why I got the permit to build on it, that was the easiest one to build on, to stay on the section line. The other one, the last quarter mile was worse to build on, but I would have built on both of them or to get there, depending on where I was gonna take. So, he's giving me that contingency on the easement, if this gets closed down, and across his land, it goes with the land, so let's see if we get back there, I guess.
So that section line currently probably has a fence running down the middle of it or something like that then, or no? No? So then there's no trail either though really, or?
When you try to close down,
Yeah.
it's the trail that I had a couple years ago.
Okay.
Since I come to that, he's allowed me to go around the piece I need to, easement I need to do some dirt work on.
Okay.
Correct.
Which is a lot easier to do than on the section line, that's what.
Correct. Correct.
So the point is you're trying to close the section line down because it's.
He doesn't want me to use both sides,
Sure.
which I don't need to use both sides if I can get easier access.
Yeah, but what about anybody else there that wants to drive down that section line?
I don't know where they're going. You can see where it goes easier to the river. And they're not gonna take their boat or their camper, or they might get their ATV down there.
Josh, where that line deviates kind of to the southeast on that, is that because of the core land or something there?
This right here, this is all core boundary right here.
Okay, so that's all core boundary.
That L there, Greg owns.
Yep. But basically, the reason that's pieced out is that's probably like the take line from the core.
There's,
Yeah, because they generally follow like a specific elevation, so they're usually, yeah.
So you're saying if you don't get this section line shut down, he won't grant you the easement through there?
correct. But the easement on the other side, the easement is, goes straight east of the. I moved over a little bit again.
Here's the line he's talking about. No.
Yeah.
On the east side of those draws.
How far is that? How long is that?
Well, it starts from the northwest corner of section 28, running south to the northeast.
The way it is
the,
describe it as a house. They describe it from here to that end line.
so it's not half.
That is half, yeah, they extended it
No,
down.
that's what's described.
I don't know if that's correct.
Yep.
This one?
You're in the northeast quarter of section 27, where that, so yeah.
Yep.
That piece down there is like, who owns the southwest border of section 27 that got right to the left? Okay.
Area.
Pick on that.
Yeah, this is where he's getting easement to come through here versus down that section. I'm crossing this creek here now. Right now I'm following the field and going around this creek. I'm gonna fill in this do dirt work across this straight here. Which is a lot better than there. I gotta come out of the draw. That's a better picture.
Because
Yeah, but that's not the curious part I have is the part that they want closest to the west of their
Well,
alley.
that's what I thought, yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
thought was over there.
I don't think that's a good idea. I guess my opinion is I don't really think that's a good idea to do that where it's in case someday somebody sells some land in there and they can't get to it or whatever, and if we start this, the next guy down the road, if I got a mile long and I got land on both sides and they get a bunch of people to sign a petition that I want to close down the section line, everybody's gonna start doing that.
What the section that's closed down like this, because you got the joining landowners that are agreeing with it, so what if they come back to you, I sell back there, now you got two people, two different people, can't you vote on it?
Well, I mean, it just takes a whole process to open it back up again, so why don't you just leave it like, it's not bothering anybody now the way it's sitting there, why not just keep it the way it is? I guess that's just how I feel, I guess, like I said, I got a mile long piece too, I got land on both sides, well, I don't want nobody driving down the road. I get a bunch of people to sign a petition for me and I'll shut this section line, next thing you know, what about everybody else coming in and shutting down section lines?
But there's a difference if the section line's travelable or not. Nobody else can drive that section line unless you're coming to get permit to fix it up.
So what's the difference then if it just stays the way it is?
That's not that's what he wants to give me, he's on the other side, I can't tell you his reasoning.
It's native, that's both sides, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, there's kind of if there's section lines that have never really been traveled, let's say not necessarily closed, but they're just not travelable, you know, I mean, so
But there's gonna be a lot of it, then. A lot of people are gonna come in and say,
Right.
hey, nobody drives down this road, let's close it down.
well, and there's a lot of, I mean, I'm just stating like, you know, kind of you get up into these hills, especially out by the river, there's a lot of section lines, and there's a fence running right down the middle of it, nobody's ever driven them. It's probably almost better there's a fence there rather than someone driving them, so right, that, they're not necessarily closed, but they're basically inaccessible. There's dozens, not hundreds of section lines around the county like that, so, but that's where closing one definitely different, because then you're basically stating that they can fence any way they want through it. They can also close off access to it, which, you know, that's.
Well, the biggest thing that it comes down to is somebody buys the land down for.
Well, the only thing to remember is just, it's kind of like a similar situation like we had almost in Tenvick there, like, where, I mean, some of these streets get closed, you know, just as you sell property, it can either be beneficial or detrimental to the sale of that property, depending on the access, so. Like you take, like this southwest quarter of section 27, that Larry owns now in my plat, because it's Gertrude Vanderwall, assuming you purchased that, you know, but that quarter is only gonna be accessible from the looks of it now, probably from the southeast quarter, which is gonna have access with this easement road, so you know, that's where the only thing, and it's not really the county's responsibility to provide access to every quarter land or something like that, so that's where.
No, they always come back.
I understand that, but I'm just saying in a way, Larry's kind of taking a risk or jeopardizing entrance to that piece of property because you almost have to allow access through the southeast corner up to section 27 or sell them both together or, you know, because you're only gonna have access to one piece through the other because that other side will be closed and you won't be able to fix it up or maintain it at all either.
It is detrimental to the sale of my ground because nobody's gonna, well, I shouldn't say nobody, but the only one with access to it is me, Greg, and Preston.
Right, that's what I'm just saying though, with you creating that easement and everything, that easement's gonna have to, you know, if you stop it just at a specific point, because it doesn't matter to you, but now you're gonna have to sell both pieces at the same time or grant easement through one to the other. You can't just sell like that quarter, but again, that's not really the county's responsibility either, that's Larry's risk.
Well, it is in a way, if somebody buys that land, they have to have access.
Well, right, but I'm just saying, if this is closed, well, and Larry's part of it, I mean, he's taking that risk of having land that's very difficult to access.
Well, I know, but Larry sells that land down the road someday, and those people have to have access to that land.
Right, but that's not the county's responsibility, that's my point, like
Well, it is the county's responsibility, I think, that we have to have access. I mean, they have to be granted access somehow to get to that land.
Right, but I'm just saying, if the adjoining landowners close that, and then he's gonna sell the property, that's gonna be a part of that situation too. I'm not saying pro or anything, I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of things, Larry's the one taking the risk, because now he's gotta allow access to that property. If he would sell it, he would almost have to sell it together, and so that's where that risk comes in too, you know.
Joe, once a section line is closed, can it be recontested and opened up again and recognized as a section line?
Yeah, there could be a subsequent petition to open it back up.
Probably the same process.
Yeah,
almost,
very
really.
similar, almost the
The
same.
only situation will be what improvements have happened in the meantime, or, you know, not saying it couldn't be done, but if someone fences through it a particular way or something, I mean, that could make it difficult too, so.
I would imagine it'd be a little more difficult to open it up than it would be closed.
Well, it would be the same process, but right, to get people to agree to it or not would be, yeah, difficult.
You know, if there's somebody put a fence on it, then,
Right.
you know, all this stuff.
I mean, the only concern or trouble that I have is, access to the core land. You know, I mean, that's one thing you're closing off too, but I don't know if that's public access, some of the areas. I mean, some of the areas, obviously, you can enter and some are inaccessible anyway, so.
Right now, the core has to walk to every portion back there because they don't have a road to get to it.
Right, so they can't even use the
They
section.
can't even use the section lines.
Is there anybody else here that wants to speak for or against closing the section line? It is a public hearing, so. Everybody else has an opinion on it, I guess.
Is this settled today then, or is it a vote on it today, or is it a?
Well, it could be. I mean, it could definitely be voted on. I mean, part of the process is a public hearing, and I think we've met all those requirements. There's a petition, there's the public hearing.
Yeah, they could
Is there like
be,
a comment period along with that, or is just the public hearing the only thing that?
I would say they either approve, deny, or table the permit request,
Sure.
or the petition.
I mean, the only concern that I have is I didn't really find out about the public hearing until I got my agenda, which would have been on Wednesday or Thursday last week, so I mean, I know the adjoining landowners probably have all signed it, but I think when I looked at the list, pretty much all the adjoining landowners had signed it, so I don't know if there's anyone.
Well, I'd like to table it.
Well, I kind of agree with that just in the sense that I felt like it was pretty short notice. That being said, I don't know if given another 30 days will make a difference or not, but I kind of feel like it was kind of short notice because I didn't even know about it either, so. If there is somebody that really wants to dispute it or something, I kind of feel like closing the section line's a pretty big deal. And
Yeah,
I mean,
I think just, we start closing section lines, that's not gonna be the only one.
well, that's true, but there's probably other section lines in the county that could be closed too, though. You know, I mean, that just, I mean,
Why
that.
do you wanna start that though?
Well, I'm just saying there's a legal process to do it. I mean, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but there is a process to do it, so, I mean. obviously there's a reason, and the county commission can't close a section line, at least not permanently, to my knowledge, so that's where,
Well, we did the one over by Francis Grumman,
you really wanna go there right now?
Well, I'm just saying, we did that.
Well, I guess I'd entertain a motion to approve, table, or deny, because we are past the public hearing notice there.
I'd like to make a motion to table it for another month.
Okay, Commissioner Holm makes the motion to table it to the next commissioner meeting. Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Materi. Is there any more discussion? I don't know if you wanted to make a motion, there's gotta be some discussion.
No, I just feel it's not right, I guess, but that's my opinion.
Well, you think tabling it to give everybody some more time to digest it would at least be a better idea? I mean,
Well, probably help, I guess.
Well, that's what I wanna do. I'm not saying that against for or against it. I just wanna give more time to see if other people have different opinions about it.
That's fine.
That's all it is.
Is there any more discussion on the motion to table? Not hearing any, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Petition to discontinue the said section line has been tabled until the next meeting, which would be October 3rd. Might as well just put it at about 9:30 again?
Okay.
9:15, so it's right away in the morning. See if anybody else comes forward with any issues on that. See if we can come to a resolution at the next meeting. Fair enough? Okay. Next order of business will be Wayne Ely to discuss the salary of the Director of Tax Equalization. Morning. First off, congratulations on the new position.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay. Wasn't really prepared to make a pitch. I thought I was gonna be answering a question, but, what I was going off of, I was given a copy of a budget that had been prepared by, I believe, Marlis and possibly Ardella, they're down in the auditor treasurer's office. And based off of what the position is advertised for, what's been budgeted, I guess I would ask for that, coming in, not having tax director or equalization experience, but having experience with some of the computer programs and office programs and things that are utilized by the position. I'm not coming in with zero experience. So I could even justify saying that even if I was to say, if you guys would like to go 5%, knock 5% off of what was budgeted for 2024, that would come in and that would basically be paying what the director was getting paid for expenditures in 2022 calendar year. So I would like to be somewhere in that range.
So Chair, Steve,
Yes, go ahead.
if we advertise the position from between 45 to 50,000.
The position was advertised as between 45 to 50.
Right.
Yeah.
Based on experience.
So you guys, I was told to offer to him based on what the interview committee came up with, but there was never a salary, what he starts out at. There's certifications that you have to complete too, I think there's 2 of them.
Yes, there'd be tax assessor 1, tax assessor 2. I'm in the process of pursuing how to go through the IAO as far as getting the online portion of that. I'll have 2 years to complete 180 hours for the level 1 and 2 years to complete 50 hours for the level 2. And then those are required once obtained to add 20 hours of continued education over the course of 2 years for the level 1 and 10 hours of continued education over the course of 2 years for the level 2. So I still need to figure out if we already have membership and sign up and things of that nature for or IAAO, or if I need to establish them. Had been on the phone with the North Dakota Tax Office as far as pursuing that, getting started with it right away.
So once all those schoolings are finished, what would the salary be then?
Normally, what you guys did in the past is you could start somebody out at the salary, and then as they completed their certifications, you would increase that. Now, I don't know if that's something you want to do over and above what you advertised for, something for you to look at.
Well, the first question would be, what exactly did we budget for?
The preliminary budget that I have for 2024 here is budgeted for $50,000.
Okay, so that was the higher end of the range that we had listed.
It was, and in watching previous commission meetings and hearing what was going on with the application process and stuff like that, when it was being advertised at closer to 45, you weren't getting anybody who was applying for the position. So that was a factor in it as well, as my understanding was you weren't really getting a lot of people that were applying for the position at where the salary was initially.
All right.
But you did apply for it at that salary
I did not. I did not apply for it until these new regulations were in place.
for next year.
After the last meeting, when it was determined to advertise it between the 45 and 50 was when I put my application in.
So what are you looking at?
I would like to be in the middle of that range. I think that's fair to request. Like I said, even if we cut it 5%, that would be a starting at 47.5. It would put me at what you were paying in this position for somebody 2 years ago. 47.5 went further 2 years ago than he does this year.
I don't know, I think that'd be a fair salary.
Well, I was actually kind of thinking of putting it right in the middle too, and then part of that would be, I mean, there is a probation period, and once you
Correct.
get past that probation period, historically, we usually give a little bit of a bump. Well, just, I mean, that's part of the probation, you know, and as that.
So you're
goes-
keeping up to what you're,
Right, and then the training is the other part of it. I mean, we've always kind of scaled that position because it's one of the more trainable positions. I mean, there's kind of a meter where you can judge the progression because of the training, so I don't.
Yeah, do have something lined up with, Vanguard. She is gonna be coming out here October 11th. And then there is a Vanguard user group conference, excuse me, that is scheduled for Bismarck next week. Registration had already been closed. I explained that I didn't get into the position until after registration was closed. They did allow me to sign up, so I can attend that conference next week.
Sure. Yeah, I guess, you want to make that form of motion, so it's just, kind of ironed out and decided.
I'll make a motion.
Start out at 47.5. So then Commissioner Everly makes a motion to, make the tax director's annual salary, $47,500. Is there a second to that? Second by Commissioner Materi. Any discussion?
Does that start?
Oh, that'll probably start immediately now, just because, that's probably what was already budgeted for before, you know, because we had a budget for that position. We've had it open, so I would say that this year's budget would have more than enough room to take it, and then next year's, if that was, you know, already budgeted for at least that much, I'd say currently we're not too big of an issue with that, so we can adjust that budget to reflect that salary, so it's probably a good time to do it now.
Yeah, speaking of salary.
We can adjust that budget next month too.
Because when did she leave? That was in spring.
I was gonna say, it was early winter, so that was already probably budgeted to have the salary was that, so I would say that.
So that salary, we
We didn't spend any of that salary, so I would say it means salary shouldn't be an issue at all. Because-
So Josh and Margella.
Right, well, we did use some of it for the people that were filling in that position, but I'm sure it was going to be with the actual wage was, so I got it. Yeah. Okay, well, we have a motion and a second for the annual salary of that position to be at $47,500. Is there any more discussion on it? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Discussion concluded.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Wayne,
Good luck.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Miles, we just want to make a note of that. I think we'll just automatically reflect that for the salary. For the preliminary budget. I mean, not the preliminary budget, for the final budget. Well, just make note of it that we made that correction so that way when we go through the salaries budgets for the final budget that we already decided on it, we should at least make sure we remember that. Good. Next item on the agenda is the Strasburg City for cost share home demolitions.
Adam Brusher, Strasburg City Auditor. So, we, after our last meeting, that was here, we did have our asbestos inspection. The only abatement we had to take care of was 3 sinks. So we just had, Frank Bosch just take care of it on his, during his, that was the only abatement that, there was asbestos, but as far as it needed to be taken out before the demo, it was just 3 sinks, so.
Okay.
We did find out that we probably shouldn't dig a pit in our, landfill, because apparently they dug one years ago and put buried a bunch of trash. I guess we could be opening up a can of worms that we don't want to get into. So Brian Warwick,
Yep.
okay, said we could use his pit, for $1,000 a house. So that basically decreases, so now Clyde wouldn't have to dig a pit, at a cost of $1,200. But we have to pay Brian $3,000. So we've got an $1,800 additional cost that, So basically with the asbestos inspection, we were at $2,000. To move the houses to Brian's pit, we got $3,000, and the actual demo of the houses is $17,400 for a total of $22,400. And which doesn't include the $81,200 that the city already spent to purchase those 3 lights. So basically, our total cost of this venture is $103,600.
$103,600.
Yes,
It costs you what, 81,000?
$81,200 for
80. Really?
well, that's purchasing of the lots and then the litigation and what, they had to pay off the specials. The specials are about $8,000 per house.
Those houses didn't go to the city, you guys had to purchase them?
Yes,
Why didn't you let it go back?
that's a good question. Because the city, well, if we let them go back, then we're the county would remove the houses. But the city was trying to nip it in the bud and, take care of it themselves.
You also could have had somebody else buy the property too and create midst of issues too.
Yeah, well, we can't provide services, so I don't even know, somebody would have had to pay cash because no mortgage companies have.
That's happened.
Oh, has
People have paid cash for the property and then they don't want to dispose of it. And so that's part of the reason why the city was aggressive too.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
If you let it go to a tax auction, somebody could, we've had people from out of state come in and try and purchase the property and not really understand anything about it.
I don't think a lot of them are going to go back because they wouldn't even sell the lots to the city to begin with.
Right.
The city had to
The city
started
didn't buy
eminent
out
domain
something
action.
that people probably weren't gonna let go back on taxes anyway, so.
They were just paying a year at a time to keep them, so they had no interest in letting it sit.
You think people would have just paid the taxes or not paid the taxes?
Oh, yeah, they kept paying the taxes, and they, not only that, but when the city offered them cash for the properties, they turned them down. So the city got those properties through the eminent domain process because they were running into issues with maintaining their infrastructure.
So why didn't they condemn them?
Well, similar process, and either way, you're gonna have to pay, you have to go through the same type of process, so.
Yeah, but if those people would have had this property, it would have been, and like Evenson up here, he would have either had to clean it up or they would have to clean it up or
Yeah, but this isn't an issue of cleanliness on these
Yeah.
properties. They can't maintain services to it. The water table's so high,
Yeah, the houses
you can't, like sewer and water is just not even feasible anymore. It's not, you can't do it. I myself have tried to maintain that system with the city. The sewer lift station was pumping more groundwater than it was regular water. It was destroying every part of their other system, and if you had a water break, you couldn't even fix it. And it got to the point where it just basically, the area is basically flooded out. So,
I actually think one of the properties was condemned years ago and it ended up being resold at county auction as part of a tax sale. And, so the city would have just bought it for $1 back then.
I mean, the city buyout was probably the only way to truly close that part of town, because nobody was really participating. That was kind of the issue. But it's not, I mean, the city was spending thousands upon thousands trying to maintain services for 2 to 3 houses that, like you said, probably couldn't be resold.
They did talk to FEMA too about maybe doing sort of a buyout program, and all the information they got back at the time was that this process is probably gonna be cheaper in the long run and also would be quicker, so, you know.
So there was no services to those houses prior to that, I mean.
there was, but it couldn't be maintained.
Yeah.
It was just too much trouble to maintain it.
Well, there hasn't been sewer service to some of them houses for
A long time.
2 years,
Yeah.
maybe that.
Even if there was no sewers out, people still want to keep them.
Dick still lives there.
Well, Dick still lives down there.
Yeah.
He's gonna take, what's it called, right of life or something like that? Term of life, whatever, so basically he can sell it, no, he can't sell it, he's gotta keep it. But I think he can only take like 2-minute showers, and, I mean, he's gotta be like really careful, but he's got another house as well, but yeah, no, he's staying down there. Both of his houses. Cause if we didn't buy his other house, it's directly to the south of his. So. And that's really,
Yeah, right.
no, we bought.
I don't recall, no.
So anyway, I mean, just the topic of discussion, you're looking at $1,000 per house to dispose of it in the pit.
Yes,
And there's how many houses?
3.
So
There's 3 houses and 2 outbuildings, but he's including that,
sure,
you
so
know.
there's $3,000 in disposal basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was approximately what, 17 to 20,000 to tear down the 3 houses?
$17,400.
17,400.
The total was 22,400.
Correct. And then we had 2,000 for asbestos inspection.
Okay, so you're looking
Do
at.
they have to be licensed, these guys, or no?
Well, I would think part of
It's gotta
the,
be insured, I think.
part of the process is to be licensed and insured or,
Are they? Okay. And this is motion.
Yep.
so basically you're looking at $22,400 in your disposal.
Yep.
Tear down and disposal.
Yep.
What's anybody's opinion?
I don't know, I guess, it's just the cities, city can't afford to do this, or
Well, we had no choice at this point, we're so far into it, you know. Like I said, they've already spent 81,200 just to, you know.
What's your normal practice?
Well, like I said, the normal practice generally has been that most of these properties, when they're in really bad shape, they let them go back on taxes. The county basically inherits them after a certain number of years, I think it's 3. I think, well, it's 3 is if you're back on 3 years and then, you know, so yeah, 3 to 4 years generally back taxes. Nobody buys the property, then basically the county tears it down and disposes of it and then sells the lot back to the city for $1. That's normally I mean, as far as I've been a part of, that's usually been the normal situation.
that would have been the best way to do it, I think, if that would have happened, but.
Well, the whole point why the city of Strasburg's here though is the simple fact that they went through a process that's helping their city. It's also a process that the county probably would have been participating in at some point.
Yeah, but that would have been our responsibility then.
Exactly, and that's where the point is that's why they're asking for the cost share, because I can tell you from my experience, especially without Wishick having a disposal site and us having to do it, it was, I think it was running us anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000 to tear down a house.
Yeah, no.
So that's where, you know, participating in a cost share on that, there's plenty of houses in the other towns we tore down essentially for nothing and then sold the lot back to the city for $1. So
Yeah, so we're looking at cost share of 22,000.
I would say, I think the buyout program benefits Strasburg more than the county in that
Right.
sense, because if they wouldn't have been able to buy the properties out, the county probably wouldn't have been involved, because the
Right.
taxes would have been up to date and all that, so Strasburg doing that was probably for their benefit. The $22,000 for, you know, disposal and tearing them down, I mean, at some point, that probably would have been ours, who knows when that would have been, but if it's
That's
5, 10 years down the road, that's just that much more expensive depending on the escalating costs, so that's where a cost share on this isn't a bad idea with the county, and it does help the city of Strasburg alleviate an issue that probably would have been a county issue in the near future anyway, so.
No, I agree, I think we would've got stuck with it anyway, so cost share of the demolition.
Right, I think in the long run, we were gonna be spending money on these properties one way or the other for Strasburg to initiate it and do it, and then also alleviate the work from our road crews, because typically we use the road crew and we did it in the winter, which wasn't always feasible, whether the weather is there or just things going on anyway, so.
I guess, I don't know, I feel a little bit the other way. I guess I don't feel it's our responsibility to do that. I mean, just because, you know, it's all the taxpayers, like I said before, it's all their money. It's just like with the Sitting Liddy's airport thing, it's same thing there. It's.
But same token, we would've been taking over this, if they would've gone through the
Yeah.
steps, we would've had it
We would
in.
have had to do it then, but that's not the case here.
But we would've been stuck with the whole bill then.
We would have been.
But now we only have to pay for half, well, it'd make more sense.
Yeah, but it's, I still feel it never happened that way though.
Can you not use these for fire training?
I think,
Well, I think the big issue I can tell you with this area is that it's almost getting to the point where you can't even travel the road with anything
put a
heavier
fire
than a
truck down
pickup. I mean, you put a fire truck down there, you're probably
Straight to
going
the
through the
fire.
road. Yeah, I mean, that's where it's a bad situation that Strasburg definitely needed to remedy one way or the other, so.
So when they tear these down, they're gonna be careful too, to not get sinker.
Well, most likely it's gonna be in probably the dead of winter where it's froze up hard enough, you can try and get a truck down there, you know.
Well, we're looking at, actually, we're probably gonna start on it in about 2 weeks, but we've got enough clay from the lagoon project that they're gonna put that down as a base,
Sure.
and then when they're done, they'll just kind of push most of that into the basements, you know.
Well, there's another, I mean, that would probably work too, if you'd stack up a few feet of clay or something, you could
Yeah.
probably make it buildable enough to drive down there to the.
And they got some crane mats too, they said they could bring in if they had to, but then you gotta dig those out, so, you know, it's kind of the same thing, you know.
Sure. Speak your mind,
I guess
make a motion, or,
I guess I said mine, I don't know, it's not that I don't wanna help Strasburg out, I think I could, but I mean, it's just, that's just taxpayer money again, that's not really part of county stuff, you know what I mean? That's Strasburg city stuff. I mean, I don't think the taxpayers of county, if Strasburg had a tornado come through, or Hazelton, anybody, I don't think the taxpayers would mind spending a little bit of their tax money helping somebody out like that, something like that out, but just having a couple houses torn down, I mean, I don't think we should be stuck with it. If it would've came back on us, and we would've tear them down, that would've been a different situation, but.
well, I mean, the only argument I'll make counter to that is the county spent, I can't remember exactly, but I think it was in the neighborhood of $5,000 to $10,000 dewatering that area when it flooded a couple years ago, basically because of these houses not
Okay, so
being
that
there
was
too.
kind of an emergency there at the time, so they tried to help out the county, we tried to help out there.
Right, but who's to say that won't happen again too? I mean, one thing about this is you pay to help out now and you get rid of the problem versus in a few years, if these property owners start demanding that water gets taken down, now you're going through and doing the process again anyway, because if you're not willing to pump the water down and save the properties, then you're basically condemning them yourself too, and then you gotta have them condemned and tore down. I mean, that's where I mean, I don't disagree with your sentiment on the first part, but this is kind of a situation where this part of town needs to get closed off, and it's gonna become someone's problem. And they've taken the initiative to go through the process and buy them out, and in the long run, it might even be cheaper than trying to just maintain services as well as trying to maintain that water, which seems like it's coming up more than it's going down again, so.
What's gonna happen though in the future, just driving the streets of Strasburg, all these old houses that are dilapidated? That should be torn down, are we gonna end up being liable for that also?
Well, if they don't pay the
If
taxes,
it goes back on taxes,
I mean, and that's what
why I said.
happens too.
Yeah, they eventually go back, yeah.
I know there were some old houses in Hague too, a couple of years ago, they just took the initiative and tore them down themselves. I mean, they didn't come to the county to tear them down.
Well, right, but that's where most people are realizing that they can just let it go, especially if the property's worthless, they just quit paying the taxes on it, let somebody else deal with it, and somebody else is usually us.
That's what I mean, like in City of Hague, when those went down, they just went and took care of it, you know? I know my brother Steve went and tore a bunch downtown and
That's
that's
the
just,
city?
yeah. City took care of it.
Right, well, the city can take care of it too, but that's where, in the end, the property ends up with us first.
It
Because
didn't, it didn't down there.
Well, I don't know why that would be, because generally the taxes are due to the county, so then they go to us. Well, then nobody wants to buy that property with a house that needs to get torn down, so then we end up tearing it down. So that's where, I mean, eventually the cost lands on us 9 times out of 10 anyway, so that's where
Down
the
there.
cost sharing is.
Down there, the city just paid for it and Steve tore them all down.
Mhm.
But I mean, that's how I think it should be. I don't think the rest of the taxpayers in the county should have to pay for that. That's my opinion. I'm not saying anything bad about Strawberry or anything, it's just my opinion. But
I know, I guess I just think, we would've been stuck with the whole thing, you know, a couple of years from now. We would've got the whole bill, and now we're only gonna pay half. That's what I'm looking at,
But we're only gonna pay whatever someone makes a motion to pay.
yeah.
So, that's what I'm saying, somebody can, if you're not gonna make a motion to approve or deny, then I guess that would be another one to table, I guess, that would be the discussion, so. I think Strasburg's gonna go ahead with it one way or the other, so.
That's still gonna be subsidized.
Well, like I said, the common cause was they came here to basically tell us that they're taking care of a problem that most likely would have landed in our lap anyway, and they're doing it their way because now they have control of those properties so that they can't be built on again, they don't have to provide services to them, so in the long run, it's beneficial to Strasburg anyway.
But if they would
But it
have,
also-
if they would have let it go and it came to us and they could have got those properties back for $1 anyway. Then we would have had to bill anyway.
Exactly.
Didn't turn out that way. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I think we're saying the same thing, it's just that Commissioner Holm is saying that we should help them out a little bit because they're helping us out. You're just saying since they took it on, they should just take it on. But it's basically landing in the same boat, they took it on first, they're handling it. I mean, somebody need a motion. Entertain a motion to approve, table, or deny the discussion.
Well, I'll take a motion to share costs up to 22,000.
Gotta put percentage.
What percentage, to what amount, or
What percentage?
Well,
Percentage.
50% of the 22,400? Commissioner Holm makes a motion to cost share the city of Strasburg for 50% of the 22,400 for demolition and disposal. 3 houses. Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to the motion? Not hearing any, motion dies for lack of a second. I'll entertain a motion to approve, table, or deny cost share for home demolitions in the city of Strasburg. Entertain a motion to approve, table, or deny cost share for demolitions in the city of Strasburg.
I'd make a motion to entertain it at 20% of cost of the total.
Commissioner Terry makes a motion to cost share 20% of the 22,400, which would be roughly $2,480. No, that's just not the, yeah, I was thinking it was 10%. Commissioner Materi makes a motion to, pay 20% of $22,400 to the city of Strasburg for demolition of this house, 3 houses. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Miller. Is there any more discussion on the 20% cost share of the city of Strasburg? Is there any more discussion? Not hearing any, I think we'll go to a roll call vote.
Beverly. Polo.
Yeah.
Magrum.
Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Okay. Cost share is approved.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Next on the agenda is the budget said $4,480. Yeah, $4,480. All right, next on the agenda is the project manager agreement with Comstock Construction Incorporated. Gary, is that you? With Comstock? Or somebody else presenting something?
I think what, on the agenda basically was that short contract that we sent off to Comstock and our renovation of the auditorium and repair and renovation of the court. So I don't know if anybody got a chance to review that. It's already a short form. Just for review for those that aren't up to date on this, the county decided that they hired a project manager to oversee that project. And gentleman with Comstock Construction was awarded that position for the project manager to oversee that. And then through his company, he's employed with Comstock Construction out of Wapton. They have a short form contract between the owner and contract, basically that just kind of outline some of the details, what's expected, what we expect of them, what they expect of us.
This project manager gets what percentage of the total?
Well, that, if you go back to this document here, we have four, okay, so I think it was on page, that's,
The 7% was the design fee and construction services was 6% of the construction cost.
So 11% all of it.
Well, it's 13% of it. Some of that typical, design is probably not gonna be done by Comstock. It's probably architectural or something.
right, it's my understanding. Jason Black was here last one. Yes.
Basically, from the meeting that Commissioner Holm and I attended after the last meeting with Comstock was that, we're basically just in the phase now where we're coming up with priorities. And that priorities, there'll be some kind of a design and an estimate of what it's gonna cost and everything too.
Right, and in that contract, Jason Black had, kind of included what his understanding is exhibit one. Basically kind of outlining what the priority for the county regarding the auditorium, the stage area, the kitchen, the bathroom, the exterior, the courthouse, things like that, that the county wants to address a higher priority.
So they're gonna start that pretty soon.
Well, that part of our discussion at a meeting after the county commissioners met with him, so they fully expect the project to go on this fall from there, put down the infrastructure, the auditorium, probably. So obviously some of the stuff on the exterior of the courthouse, like the handicap accessibility, that whole entrance. Unless they get going real soon here, they're probably gonna get spring projects like that.
Is there gonna be an issue of asbestos in this building?
That's all part of that process that they're gonna have to look at. I mean, obviously, I think there's probably some, but just to what degree and how, so that, or can it just be left in place and covered up?
something that's gonna concern them, so.
Well, and I guess that's probably the main reason why we want to contract with someone like Comstock, because
Right.
they are, they're gonna know who to call, where to call, they're gonna, figure out those kind of things instead of landing on people that don't have the experience with the project. So I think for the most part, contracts just agreement to the rates. I think getting an estimate is gonna be after the fact, and it's gonna be difficult to estimate some of the stuff because some of this, this place, until you tear a wall open, you don't know what's behind it. So, and what'll end up happening, or at least the way we talked about it, is we kind of have a number, which is basically those ARPA funds. And there's probably a little bit in a budget item under the building maintenance we could probably tap into or something, but basically what'll happen is I think if the costs start to exceed our expectations, we're just gonna scale the project back. We're gonna be looking to,
Right.
if it's a common sense type scenario where we're $5,000 away from completing something, there's probably money in the budget somewhere for capital improvements to the courthouse, but if all of a sudden we want to do 10 things and it's gonna cost $500,000, and all of a sudden it's gonna cost $500,000 to do 4 of those things, we're probably just gonna do 4 of them. Or, we're not gonna go way over our budgeted item, we're probably gonna scale back the project, so.
And that's the whole purpose of the project manager, to oversee that, and to keep you guys, the board, informed monthly on the progress and how it's going. And although the project manager is employed through contract construction, they may not necessarily always be the contractor doing the work. They're going to the next part of the discussion too, but they will look at local contractors are appropriate, for heating and air conditioning, the electrical, plumbing. But obviously Comstock also has services available within their corporation that can provide some of the tear down, obviously, you can maybe do some of the installation, but again, there's I think a very clear understanding you're trying to apply with the contractors when they can.
I think the heavy priority is gonna be the auditorium,
Right.
and then of course the access points outside the courthouse segments. And those are kind of the big priority issues, and we'll have to scale it depending on the estimates and what contractors are available and how that aligns.
Because they were doing their restrooms downstairs too, right?
We got a pretty substantial priority list, and if it can get done, we're gonna do as much as possible, and if it starts getting too expensive, then we'll have to start really picking some priority things, and I think that's.
And address it maybe like,
Well, it's just something that could be a part of another project down the road, or that's where I'm saying, you might have a scenario where you wanted to do this for this much, and for an extra 10 or 12,000 now because of a change, you could complete it, well, that's where we might have to dip into another budget, which we do have funds available for courthouse maintenance and stuff, so if it's feasible, we could probably do it, if not, they'll probably just get cut out, so.
So this year agreement is just simply for the project manager position,
Yep.
is what this is for, so.
So they really, I've looked over the contract, it's pretty standard with just, if you don't pay them, they don't show up, if they don't do the work, we can fire them. It's pretty cut and dry. Their hourly rates and their estimated costs, and like the percentages was all part of their original deal when we interviewed and hired them, so none of that's changed, so.
so they need a signature from each commissioner and data.
No, they just need a signature from the chairman, but we need approval in the minutes that we're going with them, so I guess the motion would be to approve or deny the contract with Comstock Construction.
We'll make a motion to accept Comstock's approval.
Commissioner Materi makes a motion to approve the contract with Comstock Construction for the courthouse renovation project. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Everly. Is there any more discussion? And like I said, there's a lot of stuff that's gonna happen between now and then, cost estimates, availability of contractors, all that, so there's a lot of discussion that we can have too, as far as priorities and things too, as they change. Some things might get more expensive, we might have to go another direction, maybe we can do something else. We won't know until we really make it.
Are they gonna use some local contractors?
That's part of our discussion here, they will, when these certain projects are bid out, they will include,
So do they have to be bonded then, all them local ones?
Well, and that's kind
be
of,
licensed and, yeah.
getting back to these guys being the general, that's what they're gonna handle. They're gonna verify the license. Because really, in the end, when we sign this, Comstock is responsible for the entire project, so if they hire someone that's not up to standards or something, that's their liability, so. That's why going through this makes the most sense, because we just don't have the people that have the experience or the time to handle a project like this, so. So we have a motion and a second to approve the contract with Comstock Construction. Is there any more discussion?
For the project manager's position.
Well, for the project manager position, just be the general contractor. Not hearing any more discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Contract approved.
Okay, thank you.
Signed it.
These are together this time, guys. Okay, Skylar, you're next on the agenda.
Let's hear.
This will be marvelous, and then let's use. Well, first thing, just kind of take some things off the agenda. Permits for like South Central Regional Water and County Electric.
The South Central Regional Water one, yes, the Cam Electric one, but it's got this number, so I can't go to town. So the South Central Water one's fine, I'm good to go. It doesn't matter, they're just up and down. Anything else you guys want to start with then, or do we can just?
No, just go ahead and start with your stuff first.
Okay, so we advertised the bid, the cement stabilization, we had a bid opening last week. Wolf Engineering's here on phone too to answer any questions if you have any that I cannot answer. As you see, there's option 1 and option 2. Option 2 is all sites, so, one of the sites is on a federal aid road, and it'd be on 17th Avenue up there, north of Braddock. So we optioned that one because it was kind of we had that discussion of maybe we have to grade raise it. But that's probably 6 feet is what roughly we'd have to grade raise it.
Is that where that old problem was in?
That's the Carlson's up there, the northeast part of the town.
So if we did that, then obviously we wouldn't want to then stabilize it. If we decide not to grade raise it, or even if it's not in our realm for the next 10 years, then I think we should cement stabilize it. So that is the cost breakdown, and then the back sheets are just the bid, so.
So essentially, option 1 is for sites 1 through 3, option 2 is basically sites 1 through 4.
Correct.
So basically, option 2 is, or option 1 is just removal of site 4, which is the biggest one.
Correct.
You know, with 17th Avenue, right, is the one that we're talking about for site 4. That's a federal aid road.
Correct.
So if we did a grade raise, I mean, that's where is there an opportunity for maybe some.
Well, we'd have to go through the whole federal aid process.
Right, which I mean, because we've done that before, I mean, historically, that's kind of been the route to go on the federal aid roads to get some cost share on that, because it's generally pretty expensive to do a grade raise, especially that one's probably gonna be,
That one's gonna be a big,
it's gonna be in the hundreds of thousands, I would assume, just like a lot of the other ones.
we're probably closer into the hundreds of them, or
Don't say hundreds of millions, no, yeah.
we're into the billions.
Sign is cheaper than that there.
Which one's that?
Well, that'd be 17th Avenue, so that's the one where, Vern and Julie Carlson came in and said that their road is underwater, and so it would be, if you go east of Braddock, and then it's the first turn to the left, and then 17th Avenue is federal aid, and that actually goes into Kidder County. So it's basically in the northeast corner of the county, I mean, it's basically right up there with Logan and Kidder too, it's kind of the, called the 3 corners, or the county corner. It's usually what they calls it up there, so.
Where the lake went through.
Well, it's kind of the similar deal as some of these other roads we've had, where it's a cereal bowl. It lands in there and it really doesn't drain. I mean, it basically has to filter through the ground to get rid of it. It has to dry out. There's really no spill elevation. And I mean, not without it being a disaster. It'll spill, but it's basically destroyed everything around it. So that's the issue with, the access to the Carlson farm as well as the lake road. But what's that looking like right now? It's been a little bit drier, so is it coming out?
I haven't been up there, no, it did come out, and then we got that big heavy rain, and then it went back under.
Did the road go under, or was it just on the edge like it's been?
Just on the edge, but then the Carlson's driveway went under
Right.
again, and that's what we call it. So it depends on, you know, the year of moisture and stuff we get. Yeah. I mean, it's always soft in the spring, no matter what.
Right.
Just the nature.
Even on a
of
drier year, it's usually pretty soft, because it got built through a slough, basically, is what
Correct.
happened, so.
Correct, so. Now, if we go ahead with it, or if we decide to move forward with any of these, there's enough money in our federal aid, like what we put in there. to make it work. If we do option one, like, we're gonna be, no matter what option we go with, out of the general road maintenance fund, we're gonna be a little shy due to the graveling and stuff we did this year, so.
Mike, in your opinion, if we did the concrete stabilization on that 17th Avenue, and let's say it does get to the point where we have to raise it again, would it still be beneficial to have that stabilization there even with the raise then? Because you'd have a firmer base, or are we looking at the basically just being a waste of time and money if that's the case?
If you got 6 feet of dirt on there, I don't think
It really wouldn't matter if we had it or not then? Okay.
so use it somewhere else already.
Well, that's where it kind of seems like the likelihood is we're either not gonna do anything or we're going to raise it. So that's where we either should probably not spend the money on the concrete and do nothing, or not spend the money on the concrete and raise it. But that's kind of the best options for that road, I would say, probably, so.
Long term, which is a smart.
Right, well, and I mean, that's where I'd say if we go and stabilize it and that stays high or even goes under, it's not very far from going under at this point. We're another bad winter away or another big rain event from it going under, and then you wasted over $100,000 based on concrete stabilization when you're gonna probably be grade raising it if it goes underwater anyway, like we did with our other federal aid sites.
Right, and then, I mean, just so you guys are aware too, like, it would come up about 6 inches, because we'd have to put gravel on top of the cement stabilization, so we'd put roughly 6 inches, so it'd come up about 6 inches, which isn't a lot, to get that in the.
Well, and you're still most likely gonna have some softness in the shoulders, probably even with the concrete stabilization, unless you're going out past the shoulder, which you're not gonna do because there's water, so.
Right, and riprap.
So in theory, you're just gonna harden the middle driving lane and a little extra outside of it, but it's not like it's gonna be hard all the way to the edge, so.
Good wick.
I mean, I guess I kind of feel like it seems like the proper thing to do is basically it's good enough as it is, or probably do a grade raise, which if we can qualify for some federal funding there, that's what we've done in the past with these other spots, which probably makes the most sense.
Is there dirt to be available there?
Oof,
That's the big.
Well, the other issue with the grade raise is like we've did in other places, you tend to destroy more road than you fix in the long run, because you're gonna have to haul clay off-site, there won't be anything close, it's all gonna be waterlogged, and it's pretty sandy up there, if I remember right, so to find clay, you're gonna have to go a few miles away minimum, I would think, because it's pretty sandy up there, so. I guess I feel like sites 1 through 3 would be awesome to do it, and I know the people that have heard about it are pretty excited that we're gonna do something, especially, I know like the St. Michael's Road especially, and then over by Randy Weigel's are 2 spots that, I think if you did it, that would cure a long-term
Yeah.
problem. But,
Yeah.
I think option 1 for sure. And then we can probably just reconsider what to do with 17th, we can continue looking at options, because it's tough to make a decision today. I mean, you're gonna have to find borrow areas, you're gonna have to get easements, you're gonna have to get contracts in place. And then if you do all that without funding, then we're gonna be funding it all out of our pocket, which is gonna be a pretty substantial bill, so. Yeah. So I guess I believe like I should just do an option.
but remember, like, I will be shy on our budget.
Right, well,
Or
I
make a
think,
motion to amend the budget, bring it in.
sure, well, I mean, with that, we usually amend budgets at the end of the year anyway, so.
How much you think it'd be short?
But then, no, I don't have an accurate one for this month, so I mean, it'll be probably close to 80,000. I wouldn't use that number, it's a hard number. Probably pretty relatively close.
Well, like I said, with that kind of I mean, if you're relatively close to it, and we got money in the permit fund, we also have some very out funds that qualify, we can use some of that for, so. I think doing the project, we can just amend the budget with those funds.
Those funds, that is certain time period.
I don't believe there's a time limit, but it just, we have to use it with certain projects, which is usually road maintenance, it's bridges, water crossings. There's probably a fine line on what you can use in some of this stuff. I know we got most of it spoken for with the SWAT conference, so there's not a lot of money there, but I mean, if there's some left over, we could probably utilize it for that. If not, I mean, we do have money in the permit fund, which I think for these roads especially, St. Michael's one especially has been a thorn long before I was commissioner, it's been a thorn every spring that I've been commissioner, and it'll continue to be a thorn unless we do something. And I think this is probably the best bet to stabilize it, because it doesn't go underwater, it just gets soft. And, yeah, it's right at the
You
church.
can, you can.
Yeah.
And,
There's one spot kind of by the church and then one further to the dedication.
yeah,
Well, there's one before the church and one after the church. Basically, the church is the only spot that's got these good. Well, they're both drainages, yeah, and they get soft. So I think that will alleviate that issue, which would be big. I think that has to get done, and the same with the ones over by Randy White, because there's a lot of truck traffic that would use that road too, especially if it was hardened, which would probably save the other roads heading to the west and stuff too, so.
Have we tried anything like peeling these roads over in these soft spots and laying fabric and bringing it back on board with rock and your clay and then gravel?
They did in the years past, and then we actually had Mold Engineering do a cost estimate on doing that versus the cement stabilization, and then pulling the roads apart or subcutting them, bringing in fabric and gravel and everything like that was almost double. Yeah, it was quite a bit higher and more labor intensive.
Well, we also had done geogrid in a few spots, and that's pretty costly too. It does work. Yeah, we did drone grid Mossets, and I think we did right coming off of Highway 83 on 82nd, there we did some geogrid and stuff. And it holds up, it's tough, but that's we had to look into that. This concrete stabilization is right on board with everything else cost-wise, so.
The one way up the hill, that's a cement deal. When I was out there, you worked on that.
No, that one we geogridded because it was a smaller project.
And the geogrid does work, I mean, it does, but it's labor intensive, and that adds to the cost too, and then you usually gotta bring in some material with it, because you just use the dirt you got, so. I mean, I think that's where going with this, no matter what you do, you're gonna spend a similar amount of money.
And then you have to put a foot of gravel over the top of it, so that's a lot of gravel.
Yeah, for this one, you're going 6 to 8 inches roughly or something, so,
Probably 4 to 6.
yeah, so.
But if you're gonna do it, make a motion to award whatever option you would like, and then authorize the county official to sign required documents for the award of the contract. I don't know if you wanna make me the award it when it comes through, so we don't have to wait for the next commission meeting, because we're up against the deadline, so.
I guess entertain a motion to approve, table, or deny the options to go to the cement stabilization. Option 1, which is 3 of the sites, and option 2, which is 4 of the site, which is discussed with the director. Motion to approve, table, or deny. Nobody wants to be in the minutes?
I guess I'll make a motion for option.
Commissioner Everly makes a motion to approve option 1. Seconded by Commissioner Materi. Is there any more discussion? Plan would be to get that done this fall yet, then? I got a contractor that'll do it? Or you still gotta put it out for bids, and this is just an engineer?
No, these were bids, we had 2 bidders that bid. No, well, one's out of North Dakota.
they were able to get it done yet this year.
I think we were gonna put a November 1st deadline.
Cool. Okay,
Okay, yes, clear the contract.
What's that?
Contract, sure.
you awarded it?
No, we haven't awarded anything yet, 'cause on your cost estimate sheet there, this first one, it says Strata's bid, and then the other one, the Gulf State. And then if you look at this, it says, okay, yeah. One of them's out of Roger, Minnesota.
So these 2 sheets in here were both bids for this?
Right.
Okay. See. All right, so you do have a little bidder?
Sure.
That's to say, I thought they were separate things too. Yeah.
I didn't really.
Okay, well, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? The approval of option 1? Concrete cement stabilization?
Now, you have, but did you have it in their contract, have it done by November 1st, because I know
We're gonna contract.
you'll run it up, okay.
Any more discussion? Not hearing any, all those in favor of approval of option one, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed? Proposal approved.
So then for the signing of the contract, you want me, we don't wanna bring it back to the commission to wait a whole month. so we-
No, I don't think you just got a problem with you signing the contract, we approved the amendments in the bid, so I would say go ahead. Yep, make her happy. I think what we'll do is we'll just take a little break, because Scotty's here, he's on our 10:30, so we'll just let him go and get bring you on after.
Yep, that'll work.
Okay. It's road stuff though, so if you want to stick around.
Yep.
Okay. Just gonna take a couple minute break here and then we'll have Scott.